second trip. One of the things that happens when we are flying down here, a lot of times I get a little sheet that's got all the, especially last year when I was coming into new areas, to tell us about famous alumni, more importantly, famous football players that are from the region. And as I ran through the list, I realized there's been a lot of great football players in particular from Texarkana, whatever high school it comes from. I figured out the problem right away is I currently don't have a Texarkana player on my roster. I've been trying to figure it out. That's the whole problem. So mom and dads get busy, whatever we got to do to make that happen. We got to get it back on track. We actually start next Tuesday. We start with one of our recruiting phases in the world of college football. We go out the entire month of April and May. We go out actually 168 recruiting days, which divided up amongst my staff sounds like a lot, but it's about 4 to 5 weeks of active recruiting. So we'll be in the area. Two of my coaches will be down here. My area recruiter, Barry Lunning, a lot of you might remember that name, was a quarterback a number of years back. Barry recruits my entire state of Arkansas. Roy Segrest, I don't know if Roy's in here yet. Roy's my defensive line coach. He was down in the area recruiting today. He's going to fly back with us. And we did bring along some very important people. Obviously, Dana and everything she did at Arkansas, the people, Coach O'Brien and John and Zach, but the people that probably need recognized the best is our pilots. They're in the back. Ike and Scott, they stay in the back. We want those guys to be undefeated for a long, long time. But what I thought I'd do is just kind of give a little bit about where we're at, where we're going, what we're doing, then open it up for some easy Q&A at the end. One of the things that I am excited about is a year ago at this time, we were wrapping up. I don't think we were actually done with spring ball yet. To be where we are right now in practice 13 compared to a year ago is just night and day difference. So, you know, I was as positive. I love to be a positive person. I'm always at a half glass. I'm always half glass is full and all that goes into it. But one thing that I realized last year was for me to accomplish what we want to be able to accomplish here as a group at Arkansas, what I was asking that team to do was completely different than anything they've been asked to do, anything they've been recruited to do, anything that had kind of been put on their agenda. It's not right, wrong, or indifferent, it's just what it was. I really tried to stress to them the physicality that I believe we got to play with, offense, defense, special teams. I was really trying to emphasize what we need to be off the field as well as on the field, and it was a lot of positive things, and unfortunately it ended up with a 3-9 season. But as the season wore on, one of the positive things that I saw as a coach, you know, you obviously love wins, and you love all the things that go along with wins, with bowl games and championships and all that stuff. But we're in a situation that's not very feasible. What you look for is constant improvement. What you look for is indicators, things that are telling you things are going in the right direction. I look at the LSU game, and as bad as I wanted to win that game, and as bad as I wanted to end on in a high note, I really felt, I didn't feel it right after the game because I was really pissed, but when I was, after a couple days, I said to myself, you know, when our team is as mentally fragile as we are, if we had won that game, I probably would have had about half of my team that really think that they're good, that they really think that they have arrived and they don't need to work the way that we need to work. We don't need to do the things that Coach B is asking us to do. So that was a huge thing for me. To get that close and to actually get snubbed, I think could in the long run be a blessing in disguise. On the flip side of it, I get done with the season and I'm looking at our season ending statistics, and one of the things that I believe for us to play the style of offense we play, for us to play the type of game that I believe equates into winning football games over an entire season, we need to play clean. One of my big things that we always preach to our players is to play clean. Well, play clean means that you play penalty free. And a year ago, when I took over this program, for the last 2 years prior to my arrival, we were the most penalized team in the SEC. Last year, at the end of the game, at the end of the season, we were the least penalized team in the SEC. Now, it didn't get us a lot of wins, but the thing that is established is a mentality and identity to understand that for us to play with success, you need to play clean. And then you need to get first downs. First downs turn into third downs. Third downs conversions turn into first downs. And you work your way down the field and you get touchdowns. So it's a process to get to where we want to be. I think a great thing, too, when I came back in January, one of the things I've really prided myself on, when I came to the University of Arkansas, when I sat down with Jeff Long and I talked to one of our first initial meetings, we obviously knew a lot about my coaching success and the history that I had as a head coach. One of the things that first jumped out to me, he said, you may feel that you're here because of your win-loss record, but one of the things that very intriguing to us is your APR. For those of you that don't know that, it's a measuring stick that the world of college football uses, the world of athletics uses to measure how well you're producing student athletes, how well you're graduating. My last 3 years at the I had 1,000%. You can't get any higher. And when I was taking over this program, we were at a number that wasn't quite at that level. But last year, after the fall semester, we actually finished with the highest semester GPA in the history of our football program during the fall semester. Those two indicators there, to me, show me that kids with intelligence have a chance to be successful. And the physical part will get there. We recruited a number of young men that Coach O'Brien hit on. We had a number of players that were underclassmen to become freshmen All-SEC, freshmen All-Americans and all that. I needed to sign another class, and that's what we did. We went out and signed 22 kids, a lot of them from the state of Arkansas. To put things in perspective, I shared this with the media earlier. About 2 months ago, we had a junior day with the state's top prospects, the entire state of Arkansas. Any junior that we'd offered a scholarship to, we brought them to our campus with their parents. In the first SEC West Division title that Arkansas ever played in, of the 22 starters, 14 of the 22 were from the state of Arkansas. In the next SEC West title that they played in, that Arkansas played in, of the 22 starters, 13 of the 22 were from Arkansas. In the last SEC West title that Arkansas has played in, the SEC championship game, of the 22 starters, 14 were from Arkansas, and actually the kicker was from Arkansas as well. Last year, my 3-9, 0-8 in the conference had 7 starters from the state of Arkansas. And it became very apparent to me that when Arkansas is represented well, Arkansas itself is represented very, very well. So it's become apparent to me that we need to recruit the state better. Anybody that plays and can produce in an SEC title needs to stay in Arkansas. So if you know somebody that knows somebody, I'd love to hear from you. And if you know somebody that is deciding that they need to go somewhere else, tell them that's great. You know, if you leave the state of Arkansas, you will forever be from Arkansas, but you won't be Arkansas. And I think that's a very, very valid point for us moving forward. I take a case in point. I recruited a young man named Bijan Jackson from El Dorado. Is that right? El Dorado? That's how I say it, right? Got educated about 15 times on how to say El Dorado. But the thing that was awesome, Bijan Jackson is actually the first person that I ever offered a scholarship to come play for me at the University of Arkansas. It was in December, going into he was in his junior season. I called Coach and have a chance to visit and talk about what we'd love to do. I get Bijan on the phone and I offer him a scholarship, and he's kind of excited. He's a man of few words. If you've ever seen he's more of a man of action. He's more of a man of 6'4", 335 pounds of action at any given time. So I offer him a scholarship. I said, hey Bijan, before you hang up, how do you get the name Bijan? Kind of a pretty intriguing name. He's like, Coach, I'm named after a French cologne. I'm like, really? You're named after a French cologne? So I thought it was real, you know. So I gave his number to Bijan. I said, hey, why don't your mom and dad give me a call? Let's talk a little bit of recruiting, and looking forward to hearing from you. The next night, I get a phone call from Bijan. I get a phone call coming out. I was actually at the basketball arena. I'm getting ready for a basketball game, and I quick run outside, and I'm talking to Bijan, and he quickly says, Coach, you know, I appreciate what you said to me the other day. I've talked to my parents, and I want to become a Hawk. It took him 24 hours. He said, I'm going to become a Razorback. First commit that I'd received. I was pretty excited. And I knew at the time he was pretty special. I was a defensive tackle in my own regard. I knew he was a lot better than I was. Very, very big, very physical, got it all kind of going on. I know we don't like to talk about it, but he's got an extremely large behind. And a defensive tackle play, that's a very positive thing. So he had all the right things, and he says he wants to be a Hog. I said, great, I'd love to talk to your dad. So his dad gets on. I think he actually handed the phone to his dad, but they sounded the exact same. Everything was yes, coach, no, coach. Very, very positive conversation. I get Mom on the phone, and Mom's just this unbelievable personality, just bright, bubbly, and some of you remember a year ago during recruiting, I learned that you need to get the mothers on your side in recruiting a lot of the time. So I felt I was really going to grow this year and get all mothers on the same page, so we didn't have to have a mother running out the door with the scholarship papers. So got Mom on board, and as Mom's having a conversation, I said to Mom, I said, now, I gotta ask you, Ms. Jackson, I said, Bijan told me that he's named after a French cologne. And she starts laughing. Can't get her to stop laughing. I'm like, I take it he's not named after. She goes, no, Coach. But his dad has been telling him that his entire life, and now he believes it. So I did know I got a kid that listens to his father as well. But what was awesome in January, as a head coach, I only get to come to a community once. I only get to come to the high school. I only get to come, my coaches, my assistants can come 6 times. The head coach can only come once by NCAA rules. So what I always say is, I want to meet anybody and everybody that made you who you are. Anybody that had a hand in building what you are, I want to meet them, because as we all know, life is made of peaks and valleys. And when you're in one of those valleys that I need to get you out of, maybe an injury or a bad semester or a death in the family, I need to know who made you. So, you know, as I've been in this business, usually you get some good crowds, maybe, you know, some big crowds. But I'm going to El Dorado to visit his dad at work. His dad works for a company that basically builds underground cable and some things that conduct electricity. A lot of things I don't even know what the heck they're doing. But they ship them all over the world, not just like the United States. They got them all over in Europe, Asia, China, you name it, they got them everywhere. And I'm pulling up to this facility, and there's just cars, cars, and cars. I'm like, wow, this is pretty, you know, I hope the dad knows we're coming. Barry Lundy's like, Coach, he knows they're coming. The plant manager's going to greet us. I said, well, we're going someplace. I walk in, and there's 300 people. Work had stopped for me to show up. And of course, what do we do when we walk in? What's everybody do? Call the Hogs. There was this poor sucker in an LSU hat. They beat him up, threw him outside. I knew I was in good company. But what was awesome is I meet and visit with all the people. We toured the plant, and you could tell the way people talked about his dad, and if he's a product of his dad, what kind of person you're getting, and the things I was pretty sure, but you come out of there feeling really good. Then I go to the home, and you got a beautiful family, a mom and dad, but every aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, anybody, you know, the postman, everybody was in that home. And I walked out of that place, and I said to myself, it's impossible for Bijan Jackson to fail. Not only does he have himself set himself up for success, he has a family, he has a high school, and he has a community that expects success and will accept nothing less. And that's what we're getting at Arkansas. And that's really everywhere. You know, I went to Dollarway High School. I was in Pine Bluff. I was in Star City. I was in, you know, I was in anywhere and everywhere. And the thing that I am so impressed with is that everybody wants nothing but success for the young men leaving to go on and chase their dreams. And it's so cool to be a part of that. That's why when we get them on campus, those kids from Arkansas will give you a little bit more than everybody else. There may be the highest recruited 5-star pretty boy from Florida or Texas. He don't care about those Hogs as much as that kid who was born and raised in Arkansas. So I appreciate anything and everything you do to help us get that. We went through the recruiting season. We had 4 kids enroll in January, 3 of them in high school. 2 of the 3, you'll see if anybody's not doing anything this Saturday at 1 o'clock. We got our spring game. We got 2 wide receivers, Jared Cornelius, number 1, and Cody Hollister, number 81, that are probably 2 of our top 4 receivers right now as we speak. They've made Brandon Allen look extremely improved. I think BA has gotten a lot better. We also had a freshman quarterback come in, Rafe Peavy, who's doing a nice job. He'll work with the number 2 unit. And then a kid by the name of Chris Murphy, a DB from Atlanta. We signed 18 other kids, 17 plus Bijan. I think they're all going to come in and give us a shot to get better. We're finishing up with spring ball right now, and we'll pop into our summer conditioning. That's probably the period in time during that 8-week cycle where our team gets better every day without us being around. By NCAA rules, we can't be around them. They have to govern themselves, and I am proud to say that, you know, as we've moved through this thing, one of the first things I do every day is I flip on the World ESPN college football webpage on my computer. It's the first thing I do every morning. And I read the top 12 stories. And every day, half of those stories are negative stories about somebody in the world of college football. Since I've been here, we ain't been one of those stories. And that means a lot to me. Now, I got some characters now, don't get me wrong. We're not sitting around roasting marshmallows singing Kumbaya every night. I mean, I got some guys that could go off any minute, but I think they understand and appreciate that if they, you know, kind of like I remember sitting in a room when I was a young coach, and I was kind of impressed with this head coach who was speaking, and he talked about recruiting, and he wanted to make all freshmen ineligible. And I was like driving me crazy because I'm like, I got freshmen, I need to come in and play. You know, for 3 straight years in my prior conference, we had the freshman Big Ten Player of the Year come in. And I thought at the time, I'm like, this coach is talking about how we need to de-recruit these freshmen because they come in with all these problems. And I said, with all due respect, you recruit your own problems. If you want to recruit somebody that's going to give you a problem, that's your choice. You want to recruit someone that does things right and says what he's supposed to say and do what he's supposed to do, that's your choice. So we're going to do that. We're going to hopefully win some games. I think the thing that's exciting about right now is 3-9 was a starting point. It's not an ending point. It's a launching point. No one else in the world of the SEC can talk about that. No one else lived it. No one else experienced it but us. And sometimes scars are a really, really good thing. I think when you have a scar, it's a daily reminder of what you've lived through. And I think our kids understand that greatly. So we'll get through the summer, we'll jump into the fall, and to me there's no better way than to start off on the road at Auburn and play a team that's a defending SEC champion, to play a team that had a chance to win a national championship, and a team that I personally do not like in any shape or form. You're going to be able to see a team that I think on both sides of the ball that are very, very excited to play. And it'll be on the SEC network to kick that thing off and start off a 2014 campaign that I think could be a very, very important year in the history of Arkansas football. So with that, I'll open it up for some really easy questions. You say the question, I'll repeat it so everybody can hear it, and then all right, you guys.